A five-star chef was about to test his new knife on a lobster. Before he could start, he found the lobster had already peed itself in fear. The chef leaned in to check for any foul smell. The next second, the stench was indeed overwhelming. The chef felt disgusted. Damn, it was truly an unlucky day. He quickly called his assistant to clean it up. The assistant took the lobster and handed it to an intern, telling her to put it in the garbage disposal. He then wiped the cutting board clean with a towel. But the intern also got splashed while handling the lobster. Everyone else was busy prepping food and didn't notice. During dinner service, the chef was plating a dish. Suddenly, his hands began to tremble uncontrollably. He had to hand his work to the assistant and step out for some air. He shakily found a chair. As soon as he sat down, he felt weak and had difficulty breathing. He tried to use the wall for support to find help, but the next second... Meanwhile, the two people who had handled the lobster also felt unwell, but neither of them thought much of it. Little did they know, their lives were about to come to an end. The chef was dead before he even reached the hospital. Several others were also rushed to the emergency room. They were all customers who had ordered lobster that night. The doctors were frantic, unable to determine the cause of their illness. The lobsters the chef handled were purchased that same day. Just like always, the assistant picked them from the local seafood market and brought them back directly. Logically, it was unlikely that someone had poisoned them. It was highly probable that the seafood itself was the problem. And recently, the surrounding sea had indeed been acting strangely. Local fishermen made their living from the sea. One day, a man, seeing the clear weather, rowed his small boat out to the deep sea alone, preparing to cast his nets. When pulling in the net, he tugged hard but found it wouldn't budge. It looked like a great catch for the day. Happy at the thought, he pulled with even more effort. The next second, watching his livelihood sink into the sea, the man surfaced for a breath of fresh air, then dived back down to find his net. He found the net tangled among the rocks. He immediately cut the net with the knife he carried, but suddenly, his surroundings went dark. The man quickly looked up. A massive school of fish was circling above him. Like a tornado, they instantly swallowed the man whole. Elsewhere, an oceanic station in Scotland also experienced an anomaly. The researcher in charge was a woman named Xiao Mei. She was chatting with a friend when she suddenly heard an alarm from her computer. She rushed out of the station to the shore, jumped into a speedboat to investigate. She quickly found the source of the alarm. She prepared to dive down to see what was wrong with the sensor. After putting on her diving gear, she went underwater. She found the sensor caught in a discarded fishing net. She quickly tore the net away, planning to take the sensor back for repairs. Suddenly, she heard a series of alarms from a nearby buoy light. Realizing there might be danger, Xiao Mei quickly swam to the surface, holding the sensor. A thick sea fog had rolled in. The sky had also grown dark. She saw her speedboat had drifted away. She quickly tied the sensor to the buoy light, then swam rapidly towards her boat. The next day, Xiao Mei's friend Peggy and a technician came to visit her. She quickly handed the retrieved sensor to the technician. After an inspection, he found the circuit board was burned out. Once replaced with a new one, it could be used again. After bidding her friends farewell, Xiao Mei and her boyfriend went to place the sensor. Soon, the sensor was back in operation. Her boyfriend, now finished with his work, saw something white floating on the sea. He called Xiao Mei over to look. Xiao Mei found a stick and fished the white object out. She then asked her boyfriend if he had a lighter. He took it out and gave it to her. Xiao Mei explained to her boyfriend that it was methane hydrate. In high-pressure, low-temperature environments, methane and water molecules form an ice-like crystal, but it rarely floats to the sea surface. But as she said this, she looked around. There was a large amount of methane hydrate on the surface. Seeing this once-in-a-century sight, Xiao Mei quickly took out her phone to record a video. At the same time, strange things were happening in Canadian waters. The carcass of an adult killer whale, weighing 10,000 tons, washed ashore. Its entire body was covered in wounds. The onlookers were baffled. No one knew what had happened. Marine biology expert ADI arrived at the scene. He said he had information about this killer whale. It had been migrating normally with its pod. Why did it suddenly die? ADI examined the whale's carcass, but couldn't determine the cause. He and his staff had to ask around the area. ADI asked a local fisherman for details. The fisherman said the killer whale pod had gone mad. While he was fishing this morning, they actually attacked his boat. He then led ADI to see his boat. Seeing the killer whale teeth marks on the boat, ADI was extremely surprised. Killer whales generally don't attack humans without reason. They have a relatively docile and peaceful temperament. But why had they suddenly turned against humans? Later, ADI took a speedboat to where the killer whale pod would pass. He dropped a device into the sea and began to listen. At this moment, a tourist boat was also approaching. It was peak tourist season, perfect for watching the killer whale migration. Tourists boarded the boat with excitement. They were looking forward to the trip ahead. Soon, the tour boat reached a killer whale migration area. Meanwhile, ADI, still listening, was engrossed. He looked up and saw a marine behemoth, a fin whale. ADI was just about to touch the whale's head, but the fin whale made a brief appearance and swam away. But the tour group on the other side wasn't so lucky. The tourists were still listening to the guide talk about whales. Suddenly, a large pod of killer whales appeared in their view. ADI, seeing this from a distance, knew something was wrong. He quickly sped his boat over to warn everyone. The tourists splashed by the whales were still laughing happily, but the next second, everyone was thrown into the water. A large pod of killer whales swam rapidly towards the people. The sea instantly turned into a terrifying hellscape. ADI quickly used his radio to call for help, but many people were still devoured by the whales. At the same time, all the people in the hospital who had eaten lobster died. A medical expert, Dr. Mei, joined the investigation. She first went to the hotel to ask what had happened. An employee said the chef had found a strange lobster. The guests who were hospitalized had also ordered lobster. Dr. Mei asked if anything else strange had occurred. The employee remembered the chef's assistant had died just like him. Also, an intern hadn't shown up for work in several days. Hearing this news, Dr. Mei immediately went to find her. She entered the intern's home but was too late. The floor was covered in the black blood she had vomited. Dr. Mei collected a sample of the black blood. Back at the lab, she immediately began to study it. Comparing it to normal human blood, she found the problem. The deceased had all vomited black blood. This was because they were infected with a marine Vibrio bacterium. The Vibrio infects human blood and releases toxins. But normally, white blood cells in human blood kill the Vibrio. Very few people die after exposure to marine Vibrio. But now, the Vibrio in the lobster seemed to have mutated. They were somehow easily killing humans. Dr. Mei told her friend about her discovery. Her friend then shared even worse news. Many people had recently eaten lobster. They were now lining up for their spot in heaven. At this moment, Xiao Mei reported the methane hydrate incident to her professor. The professor immediately started an online Q&A session. Feeling like she was back in class, Xiao Mei was terrified. After hanging up, Da Jung led his team to investigate the incident Xiao Mei reported. A research vessel arrived in the relevant sea area. They sent a submersible down to the seabed to investigate. They quickly found the reason why the methane hydrate was floating up. The methane hydrate was covered in a large number of white worms. They took some samples and returned. Da Jun quickly began to study the worms. These worms resembled ice worms. But no known ice worm has sharp fangs. Da Jun searched all available data but couldn't find a reason. The most terrifying thing was their incredibly fast reproduction rate, tens of thousands of times faster than ordinary ice worms. And their size was absurdly large. This was very likely a new species. but no one knew if the worms were harmful to humans or if they would threaten the safety of other marine life. It was just clear that they were highly destructive. Da Zhuang's team prepared for further investigation. He sent the submersible down to the sea again. He found that the worms were even larger than before. If nothing unexpected happens, the unexpected is about to happen. Everything was proceeding in an orderly fashion. The next second, faced with the sudden anomaly, they dared not stay any longer. They immediately recalled the team and returned, avoiding any casualties. After returning, the professor said it was a good thing they weren't in a small boat. Otherwise, with the oil spill, they would have been done for. For a short time, they dared not continue the investigation. Meanwhile, ADI was searching for information on his own. He was determined to find the motive behind the whale attacks. According to reliable sources, several large ships had recently been attacked by whales. They were passing through the whales' territory when their propulsion systems suddenly failed and the ships stopped. Then the whales launched a ferocious attack. Fortunately, the ships were large and sturdy, so they escaped disaster. ADI found the shipping company that owned these vessels. Through inquiries, he learned the specific details. He asked a staff member to show him the large ships. The staff member readily agreed. Soon, an old man led him to see the vessels. After some observation, ADI noticed something strange. He asked why the hulls were covered in shellfish. The old man said they also found it strange. When the ships departed, there was nothing on them. After just a few days, they were covered by these creatures. ADI asked if he could take some back for research. The old man said to take as many as he wanted, as they needed to be cleaned off anyway. At night, another strange event occurred at sea. Peggy was a member of a research team. That night, she had her monitoring vessel parked at sea for patrol as usual. Because everything seemed normal, she was video chatting with her boyfriend. They were happily chatting when the signal suddenly disappeared. Peggy anxiously tried to fix the computer. Suddenly, the ship began to rock violently. The items inside the ship shook uncontrollably. Peggy was instantly panicked. She rushed to the back to check the monitor. It was specifically for detecting underwater data. She found that the underwater data fluctuations had become extremely chaotic. The next second, at the same time, a bizarre incident occurred in a coastal fishing village in Africa. A man finally managed to get a date with the girl of his dreams. The two were chatting away, just about to make a move, when a cute crab suddenly appeared and ruined the moment. The woman screamed in pain from the bite and quickly got up. She looked towards the beach and saw a massive army of crabs swarming from the sea. Living by the sea their whole lives, they had never seen anything like it. Terrified, the two quickly got on a scooter to escape. However, the man had just borrowed the scooter to impress the girl. His poor skills led to a hard fall after braking. By now, the entire fishing village had been completely overrun by crabs. At the same time, strange things were happening in other parts of the world. On a bridge in the town of Venice, a young couple was laughing and talking. The man playfully teased his wife, causing a book to fall into the water. When they looked down, they saw a bizarre scene. Countless jellyfish were floating up from the depths. Soon, this small seaside town became a jellyfish paradise. Elsewhere, ADI had already sent the collected shellfish for research. A lab technician told him it was a type of mussel. Normally, they are quite small, but the mussels ADI brought back were far larger than normal. The most absurd thing was their reproduction rate was incredibly fast. Their numbers could increase by tens of thousands in a single day. While they were still in shock, a female professor noticed something unusual. There was a special slime on the mussels. She suggested testing its composition. The professor's words gave ADI an idea. He remembered the carcass of the stranded killer whale. He immediately reported that he wanted to dissect the whale. After getting permission, he went to the beach to dissect the killer whale. An examination revealed nothing unusual about the whale's body, but there was clearly a special slime near its brain. It was very likely the same substance as on the mussels. It seemed this slime was causing marine life to become infected and mutate. Later, ADI and the professor went back to continue their research. Soon, they made a new breakthrough. They thought of a way to verify their theory. They would use a map to find the whale pods' locations. If ships passing through these areas were attacked by the pods, it would confirm the culprit behind all the strange events was the slime that could infect marine life. Soon, they sailed to the corresponding location. ADI put on his diving gear and went straight into the sea. The behavior of these fin whales was extremely bizarre. But ADI didn't dare risk his life to observe further. He quickly took out a suction cup camera and carefully attached it to one of the fin whales. Just when he thought everything was going smoothly, all the whales suddenly woke up to deal with the intruder. Facing these behemoths, ADI was powerless. He quickly dropped his diving equipment and swam towards the surface. But the whales were not going to let them go. One whale breached and came down on their boat. Fortunately, the professor anticipated it and sped away. After their narrow escape, they began to review the surveillance footage. The video showed all the whales swimming rapidly. After reaching a certain point, they all began to dive deep. But fin whales do not usually swim to such depths. They were very curious about what was calling them from the seabed. The whale pod continued to descend. The normally dark seabed was now illuminated. It flickered continuously like stars. They had no idea there was a galaxy at the bottom of the sea. At the same time, another strange incident occurred. A boy was working as usual at a car wash. He suddenly felt dizzy, with chest tightness and shortness of breath. The boy was quickly rushed to the emergency room, but he died before reaching the hospital. Many similar cases had occurred recently. But strangely, the boy had not eaten or even touched any seafood, nor had he been to the hotel or other such places. So why was he infected just like the chef and the others? Dr. Mei was very puzzled. Just then, her friend asked her how the hotel disposed of its seafood. Dr. Mei had a sudden realization. The intern had put the lobster in the garbage disposal. The Vibrio-infected lobster would have been flushed into the sewer system. The Vibrio might have already contaminated the water supply in some areas. As soon as she said it, her friend reported that the hospital had admitted many more such patients. It was now complete chaos. A short while later, Dr. Mei received a box of seafood. Who would send such a harmful thing at a time like this? Everyone geared up in protective equipment. Upon opening it, they found the pink crabs from Africa. These crabs were terrifying. They were aggressive, and whoever touched them died. Dr. Mei immediately dissected a crab. Opening its head, she found it was full of slime. She carefully used a pipette to draw some out onto a slide. Then she added a drop of human blood. Through the microscope, she witnessed a shocking scene. The slime was directly consuming the white blood cells in the human blood. Mei told her friend the test results. The slime in the crabs was still the marine Vibrio. It was the same as the one in the lobster. Once someone comes into contact with the Vibrio, it invades the human bloodstream. They aggressively devour all the white blood cells in the human body. Combining Dr. Mei's and ADI's conclusions, it seemed nearly all marine life was now infected by the Vibrio. They had even mutated into unknown species. Their lethality was 100%. At this time, ADI was still reviewing the surveillance footage. He noticed the fin whales were circling above those lights. But what could possibly be shining continuously in the deep sea? His friend suggested it might be bioluminescent algae or plankton. But ADI said that bioluminescent algae only exists in the ocean's surface layer, and the light from bioluminescent plankton in the deep sea is very faint. They racked their brains but couldn't figure out what the shining objects were. By now, the Vibrio had infected many people, but humans had not found any effective medicine. Fortunately, the Vibrio only spread through consumption and contact. Dr. Mei told the mayor to warn everyone not to drink untreated water and to temporarily ban anyone from going out to sea to fish. But the mayor thought Dr. Mei might be overreacting. If he issued these warnings, the whole city would fall into unnecessary panic. And the fishermen who stopped going to sea would lose their income. They would protest in various ways, disrupting the city. Dr. Mei repeatedly emphasized the aggressiveness of the Vibrio. If it wasn't taken seriously, more people would surely be infected. After speaking with the mayor, Dr. Mei received a text message. The crabs in Africa were once again launching a massive attack on coastal cities. The situation was getting more and more serious. Meanwhile, ADI also received news from multiple locations. The island of Madagascar off the east coast of Africa, as well as surrounding islets, had reported mutated mussels. They needed to collect more mussels for research. ADI thought of the shipping company again. With a ready supply, there was no need to airlift them from elsewhere. That night, ADI went to the shipping company again. But when he drove to the gate, he was stopped. ADI showed his credentials, but the guard said that not even the mayor could enter now. ADI felt that something was fishy. Why had this company suddenly changed its attitude? Since they wouldn't let him in, he decided to sneak in by climbing the fence. Once inside, he found nothing different from last time. He decided to go to the large ships to get some mussels. But before he could reach them, he was discovered. Patrol guards spotted a suspicious person and began to pursue him. Seeing this, ADI took off running. Soon, ADI was taken to the security office and given a pair of silver bracelets. Just then, an old man came over. ADI recognized him as the man who gave him the mussels before. The old man didn't waste time on pleasantries. He told him the company's owner wanted to talk to him. The owner on the phone was Japanese. He asked ADI why a marine biology expert was sneaking into a shipping company in the middle of the night. ADI explained that his team was studying a mutated mussel. Because the company's ships had passed through an area with mussels, he thought he could get some here. The owner was very interested. He said ADI could take some with him, but ADI had to keep him updated on the research. Eager to get the mussels, ADI agreed on the spot. Having achieved his goal, ADI prepared to leave the company. But the company had deployed many more security guards. It was unclear what they were guarding against. At the same time, Xiao Mei's team regrouped and took action. Previously, Da Jung and his team were nearly wiped out during their research dive. And Peggy's marine monitoring vessel had met a mysterious fate. Despite the immense danger, they decided to venture out to sea again to investigate. A new monitoring vessel arrived in the methane hydrate area, but the worms that were attached to the methane hydrate had all disappeared. The seabed was now surprisingly clean. The only difference was, a huge trench had appeared on the formerly flat abyssal plain. They couldn't imagine what could have such destructive power. No one knew what had happened at the bottom of the sea. Just then, Xiao Mei, at the station, began to investigate the cause of Peggy's accident. She didn't believe a ship would suddenly be swallowed by the sea for no reason. Through a New Year's message Peggy had recorded for her, Xiao Mei noticed something strange. A flash of light appeared in the window behind Peggy. Xiao Mei replayed the video repeatedly but couldn't figure out what it was. But there was definitely something wrong with that flash of light. As she was anxiously trying to find the truth, the kettle on the stove began to whistle. She decided to pour herself a cup of hot water to calm her nerves. But the sound of the pouring water was very familiar. She instantly thought of the sound in the video. She rushed back to the computer to process the audio. Comparing the sound of boiling water with the sound in the video, she found they were exactly the same. Perhaps Peggy's death was really not an accident. At the same time, Xiao Mei's professor and Da Jung discovered an anomaly. The colony of small worms they had previously captured had moved. They were heading towards Japan at full speed. Da Jung said that these highly destructive creatures seemed to possess intelligence. They were heading straight for the most populated area. And that location was the headquarters of the Japanese owner's company. The two were still discussing the new discovery when someone told the professor that Xiao Mei was looking for her. Upon seeing the professor, Xiao Mei was very excited. She quickly told her about her new discovery. She said that several monitoring ships had something in common before they sank. The surrounding seawater had rapidly heated up, and the high temperature lasted for several hours before returning to normal. It was likely that the rising water temperature caused hydrothermal vents on the seabed to erupt, and with large amounts of hydrates underwater, the reaction would produce methane, leading to a blowout. But the professor questioned this. First of all, the hydrothermal vents had been dormant. Even if they erupted, the hot fluid would be cooled by the seawater. By the time it reached the surface, it would have no heat at all. This idea was simply fanciful. She had never heard of seabed magma turning into a missile. One launch and it sinks a ship. She sternly criticized Xiao Mei, saying she shouldn't talk nonsense just to find the cause of her friend's death. But after saying it, the professor felt she had been too harsh, because Xiao Mei had always been her most prized student. Da Jun, seeing this, quickly played the peacemaker. He told the professor that Xiao Mei was not a reckless person. Humanity has only explored a tiny fraction of nature's mysteries. Anything is possible. Maybe what Xiao Mei said was correct. The professor calmed down and carefully reviewed the data Xiao Mei sent. There really was something amiss. The scene changes. Da Jun was on a call with the shipping company owner. He asked if the shipping company's headquarters was safe. A type of worm was heading towards his company's location, but the owner said that for now, everything was fine. Right now, he was more afraid of a strange mutated mussel. An expert named ADI was studying these mussels. The mussels reproduce at an incredible rate. The cargo ships at his branch were being corroded by large numbers of mussels. Da Jun felt this sounded very familiar. The worms they were studying also had these characteristics. Da Jun quickly asked the Japanese owner for ADI's phone number. After hanging up, he called ADI directly. After a brief conversation, the two felt they had found a kindred spirit. Da Jun then told ADI what had been happening recently. His team had discovered a highly destructive worm on the seabed. It was like a mutated version of an ice worm. They were a completely new species. When he heard that ADI was studying a mutated mussel, he was very eager to learn the details. ADI then told Da Jun something even more shocking. Both the whales and the mussels contained a special slime. Perhaps this slime was what caused them to mutate. And after further research, he found that the two species, whales and mussels, had a high degree of genetic overlap. But how could a mammal be similar to a bivalve mollusk? Their mutation had practically made them relatives. Da Jun, who had studied the ocean his whole life, was completely stunned. Soon, the two shared their respective research findings. Meanwhile, the professor was also considering Xiao Mei's theory about the hydrothermal vents. She told Da Jun her idea. She planned to have Xiao Mei install a submersible robot on the seabed. This would allow them to observe the dynamics of the hydrothermal vents. Hearing this, Da Jun decided to go find Xiao Mei. She would surely be fascinated by ADI's discoveries. Da Jun then flew a helicopter to Xiao Mei's residence. He also brought the underwater robot the professor sent for her. Xiao Mei was overjoyed to see it. Soon, the two were inside studying it together. Da Jun took out the data ADI had sent. The video of the whales holding a meeting on the seabed immediately captivated Xiao Mei, especially those flickering lights. Da Jun said he would support all of Xiao Mei's research. She should ask for anything she needed, because Xiao Mei's mother had once helped him. Xiao Mei was ecstatic to hear this. With such a powerful backer, she wouldn't lack any equipment. In a flash, it was time for Da Jun to leave. Xiao Mei went to see him off, but the professor's lab detected a major event. A staff member quickly called to inform Xiao Mei, but Xiao Mei had left without her phone. When no one answered, the staff member had to call Da Jun. Da Jun learned that a submarine landslide was about to occur there. Terrified, he rushed to find Xiao Mei. At the same time, some citizens also noticed something unusual. A woman was enjoying her vacation on the beach. The sea breeze brushed her face. Everything felt serene. The next second, looking at the sea again, the water was actually receding. Anyone could see a tsunami was coming. The woman started to run for her life. Soon, other tourists on the beach also spotted the danger. Everyone began to flee to safety. As the woman was about to reach the parking lot, her husband got in the car first and sped away. The woman screamed her husband's name in terror. The husband replied that he had long had enough of his shrew of a wife. The desperate woman was completely swallowed by the sea. On the other side, Xiao Mei, having seen Da Jun off, also noticed the signs of a tsunami. At the critical moment, Da Jun found Xiao Mei in time. The two ran with all their might. Fortunately, they managed to board the helicopter at the last second. Incidents happening all over the world caused widespread panic. The leaders finally started to take it seriously. Dr. Mei held a press conference to explain the severity of the situation. She stated that a marine vibrio bacterium had now spread globally. This vibrio is life-threatening to humans. Many people have already been infected. Currently, many marine creatures carry the vibrio. Known carriers include crabs, lobsters, jellyfish, mussels, and whales. Citizens must be careful not to come into contact with these creatures. After the press conference, experts from various regions finally met and formed a task force. They decided to go to sea together to find the truth. Da Jung stated that all the strange events were definitely not just caused by the vibrio. In just a few days, so many strange phenomena had appeared in the ocean. It was simply illogical. Everyone present had studied the ocean for many years. No one could explain the reason. Crabs inexplicably invading cities. Originally docile killer whales starting to eat people. All these phenomena indicated that something was influencing or even controlling the sea. Has the sea god become angry? Has an alien civilization targeted the ocean? Or is the glowing creature from before controlling everything? No one knows. Right now, everyone must work together to solve this crisis. To save humanity, everyone should do their part without hesitation. But there is a problem. All the operations and equipment require funding. Everyone was at a loss. Where could they get such a large sum of money on short notice? At this critical moment, the owner of the shipping company found Da Jun and said he was willing to provide the funds. Now with financial support, action was urgently needed. Subsequently, ocean experts from various fields gathered on the research vessel. They set out to sea with a mission. After discussion, they named the mysterious glowing creature here. By analyzing the locations of the sunken ships and the audio files, they found the place with the most frequent signals. And this place happened to be deeper than other areas. If the mastermind behind all this is really the ear, then we have found its main base. But we don't understand the ear. This is a completely unexplored area. Since it can turn the ocean upside down, it means its power is immense. It could very well be an ancient species that existed millions of years ago. The priority now is to find a way to communicate with it. At this moment, the research vessel was getting closer to the Yur's home. Dr. Mei had a new discovery in the lab. She had conducted research on the mutated lobsters and crabs. She found that the Yur achieved control through their nervous systems. Perhaps if they focused on this aspect, they could find a way to eliminate the Yur. Meanwhile, Xiao Mei took the lead. She had a submersible ready to go into the sea at any moment. She wanted to try to communicate with the Yur face to face. Soon, the research vessel was about to enter the Yur's home, but an expert named Pearl received a strong warning message. It seemed the Yur did not welcome them. Due to the language barrier, Pearl had to think of another way to tell the Yur they were friendly. Thinking that all living things experience birth, Pearl edited the sound of a newborn's cry and sent it to the Yur. After a while, they really did stop receiving blocking signals from the Yur. They successfully entered this mysterious part of the ocean. At this point, Xiao Mei couldn't wait any longer. She prepared to go into the sea to find the Yur. Another technician accompanied her. Soon, the two had descended 1,800 meters. Xiao Mei looked around and saw some lights appearing. Perhaps these glowing creatures were the Yur. At the same time, the experts on the ship monitoring the submersible also saw these things. They were swarming towards the submersible on a massive scale. While they were still debating if the lights were the Yur, the submersible's power suddenly cut out. It also lost connection with the monitoring ship. The terrified technician quickly tried to pilot the sub away. Beside him, Xiao Mei kept observing the lights. Now, only a layer of glass separated her from those lights. She curiously studied these creatures. When the submersible returned to the research vessel, no one noticed that those creatures had followed them in. Then, the Yur actually replied to Pearl. It converted the newborn's cry and sent it back to the humans. Pearl was very happy. It seemed the Yur could engage in friendly communication with humans. They could convert the message from the Yur into an image, and then send it to the Yur to tell them that humans hope for peaceful coexistence. Just when they thought things were moving in a good direction, an accident happened. A young female assistant on the ship happened to discover the Yur. She stared blankly at the glowing creatures in the water. The next second, but soon the power was restored. Looking at the monitor, they saw the collapsed girl. They hurried to carry her for treatment. Dr. Mei observed carefully and found a cerebrospinal fluid leak. This meant the girl must have suffered a head injury. Dr. Mei immediately began treating her, but the girl suddenly developed a blood clot, indicating a problem with her nervous system. A spinal tap was needed to find the cause of her illness. The surgical equipment on the research vessel was very basic, but the girl's life was in imminent danger. Dr. Mei had to proceed despite the difficulties. Fortunately, the girl's vital signs eventually stabilized. Dr. Mei also obtained the spinal fluid. She immediately sent the spinal fluid for analysis. Soon, she got the results. It turned out the ear had attacked the girl earlier. It tried to invade the girl's brain, just as it had controlled the whales. Hearing this, Xiao Mei rushed to the lower-level water tank. Sure enough, she found a large amount of ear. They gathered together, emitting a dazzling light. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, Xiao Mei couldn't believe the ear could do this. She watched, completely mesmerized. Meanwhile, Pearl was still studying the ear's reply. She didn't know what the other party was trying to express, but Pearl was still happy to have received a response. The ear was still constantly changing its form. Xiao Mei believed they had no malicious intent towards humans. They were even trying to communicate in a friendly way. At this time, the Japanese owner learned they had discovered the mysterious creature. He rushed to the research vessel by helicopter. He wanted to see if his money was well spent. Da Jung then explained the details of the ear to everyone. There are single-celled organisms, but not the simple single-celled organisms we know. They possess intelligence. They can exist independently or gather together. They are a completely new species never before discovered by humans. Next, Pearl presented her findings. She had specially edited the message that humans were also originally marine life. After sending it to the ear, she received a reply. It sent back a map from hundreds of millions of years ago. At that time, the layout of continents and oceans was not as it is today. There had been no tectonic plate movement or seafloor spreading. The continents were still one whole. Perhaps the ear sent this to express that they existed back then. Their actions were also an attempt to negotiate with humans. But humans have always been destructive to the ocean. There haven't been many positive impacts. And the ear's attempt to invade the girl's brain shows it was also trying to communicate with humans. But it didn't realize humans are complex life forms. If they find out that humans harm the ocean yet are more powerful than them, they will definitely take control of the ocean and fight back. Right now, they need to find something good humans have done to send to the ear, to show that humans can be their friends. After much thought, they finally came up with something. In the 20th century, humans hunted fin whales to the brink of extinction. Fortunately, humans repented in time. They listed the fin whale as a protected species and completely banned hunting. Now, the fin whale population has increased by more than 20,000. If they tell the ear about this event, perhaps it will understand that humans are willing to negotiate peacefully. ADI and Pearl were still discussing how to send the message when they received an urgent news alert. Just now, another major tsunami occurred in West Africa. If this was launched by the ear, then negotiations must be paused. Meanwhile, Dr. Mei accidentally found a drug that could kill the ear. It was an anesthetic. It suppresses the central nervous system, causing loss of consciousness. Whether it could deliver a fatal blow to the ear was still unknown, but they had a ready supply. They could test it on the ones in the water tank to see if it worked. However, as soon as Dr. Mei finished speaking, Da Jung objected. Just now they were talking about peaceful negotiation. Why are they now talking about eliminating them? The two disagreed and started to argue. Most people expressed that the ear should be eliminated. Leaving them alive would always be a potential danger. At this point, the Japanese owner stepped forward to give his opinion. He suggested they could test the drug's effect first. If it worked, it could be used to threaten the ear into negotiating with humans. This would be a powerful bargaining chip for the human side. Since the sponsor had spoken, everyone surprisingly agreed. Next, Dr. Mai led a team in protective gear to the water tank. She carefully took out the drug and dripped it into the water. Everyone's heart was in their throat. The next second, the year was furious. They couldn't believe the humans who had just shown goodwill were now harming them. They used their power to cut off the research vessel's electrical system. Instantly, the ship was plunged into darkness. A moment later, Dr. Mai opened her eyes and saw her assistant in the water. It was clear they had angered the year. The year had launched a counterattack against humanity. Everyone thought the year's revenge was over. However, this was just the beginning. The year's power was far greater than they had imagined. Soon, they began to push the research vessel away. Then they repeatedly rammed the ship into an iceberg. When they got tired of that, they moved several icebergs over, trapping the research vessel among them. It was as if to tell the humans, if you don't court death, you won't die. Seeing the situation was out of control, the Japanese owner quickly escaped by helicopter. The remaining people stared at each other. If they didn't find a solution, everyone would die here. Just then, Dajun thought of a plan. It was to stage a play for the year. Find someone to pilot a submersible with the dead assistant's body. Then inject the anesthetic into the assistant's body. Once the drug merges with the human cells, they believed the ear would see that the drug was not fatal, that humans still wanted to coexist peacefully with them. Xiao Mei immediately volunteered. She told everyone she was willing to go down. Soon, she set off with the assistant's body. After reaching the deep sea, Xiao Mei saw the ear again. At the same time, power was finally restored on the research vessel. They also re-established contact with Xiao Mei in the submersible. Xiao Mei told everyone she was going to do something big. The assistant was already dead. This wouldn't be very convincing. So she prepared to use herself to show the ear humanity's intentions. Before anyone could dissuade her, Xiao Mei cut off communication. Everyone was deeply moved by Xiao Mei's spirit of self-sacrifice. At this point, feeling the time was right, Xiao Mei gave herself an injection. Then she opened the submersible's hatch, letting the seawater rush in. She quickly fell unconscious and drifted into the sea. Countless ears surrounded Xiao Mei. A moment later, the research vessel really did start to move away from the icebergs. They were saved. Xiao Mei's actions had truly earned the year's forgiveness. The scene changes. Xiao Mei lies on an unknown beach. She suddenly opens her eyes. Her eyes have turned blue. Perhaps this is a controlled version of Xiao Mei. Or perhaps she has evolved with the help of the ear. The film ends here. There are many films with the theme of protecting the ocean. But this ocean disaster film adds some scientific theory. Once there is academic support, it greatly increases credibility, thus making the audience feel more immersed. Humans recklessly destroy the marine environment, causing marine life to mutate. Then humans eat them. In the end, they only reap what they sow. In the film, humans are fickle, outsmarted by their own cleverness. They almost got themselves killed. Human nature is greedy. They do not allow anything to threaten their status, nor do they allow the existence of other intelligent beings like themselves. The ear in the film is more like a representation of the ocean. Humans harming the ear is like destroying the ocean. The enraged ocean launches a counterattack against humanity. Before nature, humanity is always insignificant. Never try to oppose nature. Humans and nature are a community of shared destiny. If humans continue to blindly destroy the balance, nature will surely make them pay a heavy price. All of humanity must prioritize the protection of the marine environment. Alright, that's all for today's video. If you liked my video, please subscribe to my channel. Your support is my greatest encouragement.